everybody, it's Mrs. Mancuso with some more AP Bio review. So I want to go through signal transduction pathways. Signal transduction pathways are how so many reactions in your body occur. There's got to be a signal or there's no reason for a pathway to happen. Our bodies are really great at only doing what we need when we need to. So a signal transduction pathway always has 3 steps. The first step is reception. The second step is transduction. And the third step is response. So let's just think about number 1 for a little bit. If this is my cell has multiple receptors on it. And each receptor is unique to a specific molecule. The molecule that it can receive is called a ligand. So all of these are ligands. And ligands could be neurotransmitters, or they can be, what else? Hormones. Those are probably the 2 common ones, neurotransmitters and hormones. And some of your receptors are external. So all of these ones here are external. If your ligand is polar, it's really important that you have an external receptor because the ligand can't get in. But there are also internal receptors. So here's an internal receptor, and this receptor is for a ligand that's nonpolar. That means it can go right through the bilayer. If it can go through the bilayer, it might be something like estrogen. Anything that's a steroid has the ability to go right through because it's nonpolar. So the membrane isn't stopping it. The tails love it, so it lets it right in. Then the receptors on the inside. So the shape of these are very specific. Each one will cause a different change to occur. So reception, the first step. Oh, there's one more that I want to show you. Okay, sometimes receptors come in pairs, and these are called tyrosine kinase receptors. And they're pretty cool receptors because they actually, when they join their ligand, so like a ligand is here and a ligand is here, they actually come together. And when they're together, they're called a dimer. And there's these little sections on each side that can lead to multiple pathways. And multiple pathways gives you multiple response. So these are really interesting receptors to study because they actually lead to multiple things happening within the cell or within your body. All right, so that's reception in a nutshell. Reception leads to transduction. So here's my cell, here's my receptor, here's my ligand. This could be a G protein. A G protein receptor has an internal part that actually changes when a ligand is present. So there has to be a conformational change. So this is one example. This little G protein or this alpha subunit of the G protein moves. And that causes something else to happen. So another change. And then that causes a kinase to become activated. So this might make cyclic AMP, and then cyclic AMP phosphorylates my kinase, making it active, and that activates another kinase, and it keeps going. So this is called a phosphorylation cascade. Transduction often activates things in a pathway. That's how it gets it moving. That's the domino effect. This would be my secondary messenger, cyclic AMP, and kinase is a regulatory molecule that's normally off, but by phosphorylating it, it's on. This might lead to the production of a specific enzyme, or it might lead to the specific production of a transcription factor that would go into the nucleus and turn on a gene. So these are all examples of the transduction pathway. Here's another example. Your receptor might be part of a channel. So here's the little receptor spot, and when it receives it, this gate opens up. So when it opens up, now ions can come in. So this is another example of how a receptor might work. Might work by binding and then allowing something in, and that causes an overall, then that ion might cause other changes within the cell. We can think of calcium. When calcium comes in, if this was a muscle cell, here's my sarcomere, and I've got myosin in the middle, and I've got my Z lines here, and my actin has troponin, tropomyosin wrapped around it. calcium's going to move that out of the way. When that moves out of the way, myosin grabs on, pulls it in, my Z lines get closer, and there's my contraction happening. All right, third step, response. Actually, I can just stay right on this paper for response. Your response is the last thing that happens. So whether you make an enzyme or you make a transcription factor or you make something else, a specific protein, all of those are going to lead to a response. Transcription factor is going to go into the nucleus, attach to a section of DNA, make RNA, which will get modified, leave the nucleus, go to a ribosome, and make a protein. That protein is the response. If it activates an enzyme, whatever that enzyme's reaction is, whatever the product of the reaction, that's my response. If this activates another protein, that's my response. So a response means what happens because of this pathway. I want to go back to my first picture because you can block these pathways. If the signal transduction pathway is causing something that you really don't want in your body, you could take a medicine. And so a medicine is going to be made, so that's why pharmaceuticals is such a huge field. A medicine is going to be made to look just like the ligand. If this goes in this spot, you're blocking your ligand. If you block your ligand, you're not going to do the signal transduction pathway. So this is a blocker. So a lot of medications are meant to block signal transduction pathways so those responses don't occur. All right, thanks for joining me.